Hi everyone, Full Metal Jayce here, and today I'm bringing you an in-depth Season 8 Jayce guide to break down everything you need to know from runes, build path orders, and certain combos you can pull off in-game. But let's start with the runes. Basically, there are going to be 3 different rune pages you're going to want to run on Jayce. I prefer sticking to 2, which are Electrocute and Airy, but Phase Rush can be kind of viable against certain scenarios in top lane. But let's jump right into this. So, for the first page, it's going to be Electrocute Jayce. You're going to run Domination, Electrocute, and then you're going to go Sudden Impact or Cheap Shot. They're really mixed feelings because Cheap Shot can proc with your Hammer Q because it procs off your AoE as you Q in. So the slow from Q procs the Cheap Shot, possibility, and then your AoE is what procs the damage from Cheap Shot. But now if you look at Sudden Impact, you can proc Sudden Impact from the Q dash alone. So as soon as you're in the air, Sudden Impact activates off your Q, and then you gain that 10 lethality and 8 magic damage for 5 seconds, which is huge because when you look at it like this, it's a 4-second cooldown and a 5-second internal proc. Jayce's Hammer Form Q is only 10 seconds at level 1 without any CDR. So once you get the CDR to match this, it will permanently be up on every single engage. Now the next one is pretty obvious because you don't really need the vision as long as you keep aware of your opponent. And lane, you can go Eyeball Collection just for the extra scaling. I personally prefer Ravenous Hunter here just because you have the extra lifesteal, which is very useful for your abilities, and it has saved me countless times. So that's the Electrocute tree. And then over here in the secondary tree, we're going to go into Sorcery just to have the extra damage, or sustainability, I guess you could say. We're going to run Transcendence for the guaranteed 10% CDR, which also allows you to scale and go over your CDR cap and not worry about your extra AD being wasted. And then we're going to go Scorch just to have that extra harass because it scales so well with Sudden Impact. Alright, that's page number 1. Okay, page number 2 is going to consist of Airy. And if not Airy, you would just simply swap it for Phase Rush if you're not really wanting to go for Airy. And then you would run Mana Flow Bond, Transcendence, Scorch, and then your secondary page would be, not Precision, I'm sorry, but it would be Domination. And then this is where you would also run Eyeball Collection and Ravenous Hunter, or you can go Sudden Impact, which, believe it or not, Sudden Impact and Eyeball Collection I would recommend, my personal choice. And again, the only difference here is you would run Phase Rush instead of Airy if you're going against tanks where you feel like the harass is not necessary, or you would run Electrocute to make sure you have full all-in damage. Alright, so that's the runes. Pretty straightforward, very simple. I didn't want to go into too much detail because these are the most optimal rune pages I feel for Jayce. Now, there are other pages like Press the Attack and maybe Unshield Spellbook or Kleptomancy. Kleptomancy is pretty fun, but those aren't optimal, so just sticking with the optimal. Alright, now that we talked over the runes, let's go ahead and load a game real quick and let's go into a trading game so I can show you a few combos with Jayce, like the Hammer Form at Cancel and a few others. Other than that, I'm also going to go into my builds real quick. I'm going to go in depth for my builds real quick and explain what I do in which scenario and why. So, long story short, basically, there are 2 different build paths that I run for Jayce. There is the top lane build path, and there is the mid lane build path. Now, the only difference between these 2 builds, essentially, within the first 3 to 4 items, is how I build those first 3 to 4 items. So basically, what I do is, if I go mid lane, I will always rush a Ghost Blade. Always. Unless, like, I'm against a ridiculous AP opponent that's just dicking me, and I have to go, maybe a Maw early. Otherwise, if I'm top lane, I will go for a Ghost Blade. I'm sorry, not a Ghost Blade. I'll go for a Black Cleaver first into a Ghost Blade. So, let's go ahead and break it down here real quick. What I'm going to do, basically, is my very first item is always going to be a Ghost Blade. Okay? So, let's go ahead and get a Ghost Blade. And then right after the Ghost Blade, I always get a Black Cleaver. Always. Now, you could go for a Drakthar sub as a second item for mid lane, Jayce, just because how fed you get. But you want to go for a play it safe and overall scaling. So I would always go Black Cleaver. I'm sorry, I would always go Ghost Blade, Black Cleaver, and then at this point, if I'm ahead enough, I would get a Drakthar, or I would sub the Drakthar for a guaranteed Last Whisper, because these 3 items on Jayce are going to always be your core build. and you're going to always want to build around these. Now again, if I was top lane, I would have gone a Black Cleaver first, then I would have gone a Ghost Blade, or a Last Whisper if I'm truly struggling against whatever tank matchup I'm against. And this would have been a pretty standard, first item build. I would always go Black Cleaver from top lane, and then a Ghost Blade, and then a Last Whisper. If I'm mid lane, I would always go Ghost Blade first item, then a Black Cleaver, or a Drakthar, or a Trinity Force if I'm feeling frisky, into the rest of my standard build, because your last 3 items are always going to be either a combination of a GA, a Mercurial Scimitar, a Drakthar, Death's Dance, or a Maw. Alright, now that we talked about the build paths, let's go ahead and get into the combos, the last but not least. Now, I know you're thinking, what Jayce combos are there? Well, I will tell you. Let's go ahead and set up some target dummies and teleport over here, y'all. So, the first combo is a very straightforward combo that a lot of people don't really understand how it works. Because what I'll see is a lot of Jayce players, they'll drop their E first. They'll drop their E first and then fire their Q, which is such a big mistake to do, because when you're dropping your E first to fire your Q, there is such a delay in what you do between that dropping E and firing your Q. But if you do your QE like how you should, it's instant. You see that? It's literally instant. Okay, so the first, like I said, the first step I want to show you guys is, instead of doing your E first and then Qing, never do that. That always takes at least twice as long. And again, if you do your Q and then drop your E just right into a good spot, like just right, it's instantaneous. Okay. And, combination number 2. Now this is a good one that took me a while to learn. It's a really straightforward combo. It doesn't speed up the animation, but what it does is it does cancel the animation. So basically, when you target someone with a hammer Q, here's a normal hammer Q. So, right, you land in the air, no big deal. Now, this is a very big deal against certain champions like Syndra or Fizz or LeBlanc or any kind of champion that can read that. So basically what you do is you take a key binding, which it's for Jayce's laugh. So, his standard laugh, ha 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 ha, good old Jayce laugh. As you cue the target, you press the key binding for your laugh, and it thus cancels out the cue completely. Time to make a stand. See? No flip. Nothing. Well, I fucked that one up a little bit, but you understand how it works, because this is normal. Big old front flip. That's canceled, so you don't see it. And it really helps out for people that don't understand that you just landed on them in their face. Alright. Now, the next combo. This is a very important combo. I cannot stress it enough. Now, people always ask me, how do I do my Jayce E-Auto combo? And I'll tell them, it's very straightforward and simple. You just got to understand the simple mechanics that go behind it. So, as you see here, if you look at the yellow circle is Jayce's E ability range. Okay, everything in that yellow circle that you get within and you do your E, you will proc, your E and do it on someone. But, as you saw, if I am not within the same target of the blue circle as my E, I will never be able to get an auto attack off, because there's that little dead zone between the blue and the yellow circumference circles that only works for his E but not his auto attack. So the second I walk into the auto attack range for the blue, like for this blue circle, I can do it literally 100% of the time. And this works for any champion model that you're on. So as long as I'm on their face, I can literally do the E-Auto. I think I've gotten it down to like 90% accuracy, maybe even 100. It's so simple. And like I said, all it takes is having the understanding of being within that blue circle at the same time of casting his E for his yellow circle. Because the second I walk out of this circle, I can't do the auto attack because the game doesn't register I'm next to the target still. Alright, enough about that one. Let's move on to the next one. Now this one's a personal favorite of mine that I love doing because a lot of people don't realize that you can do this. Let's do it on the Gromp first so I can show you. But the Gromp and a few other jungle camps like the Krugs you just saw are able to be knocked over walls And boom, look at that. I'm over here ganking a lane all of a sudden, or I'm trying to escape, and vice versa. And then you can do the same thing vice versa. So if the Gromp's on the other side of the wall, and you're like, oh my god, I need to run, I'm gonna die, you cue the Gromp, and look at that, I'm over the wall. Just like that. And then you used to be able to do the same thing on the blue buff, but ever since they moved it back, you can't exactly get it over the wall. But yeah, and then the same thing for the Scuttle Crab. Obviously, you would know that. You know, when they get displaced, they take so much extra damage. Alright, so now another one. This one I learned about just a little bit ago, because it's actually a bug within the Jayce kit himself. What you do is, as you hypercharge auto attack someone, now a lot of you don't realize, but this is a bug from back in the day where you used to be able to auto attack something and swap forms, and you could range auto whatever you attacked, but they removed that with a patch, but then they also kind of re-brought it back in, but in a different scenario. So the way you proc it now is by, as you auto a target, you pop your hypercharge, and on the second or third auto of the hypercharge, you swap forms. And if you notice, that 51 damage was the damage from my Hammer Forms passive. So if you look, it's just auto, proc hypercharge, auto. Oh, I fucked that one up. But you swap forms on the second or third hypercharge auto. See? And it does the extra damage. So let's try it on the third one. Nope, it's only on the second one. It's only on the second or first auto attack. Yeah, see? It's only the second or first auto attack of a hypercharge for it to work that way. It's weird. I don't understand it myself, but hey, that's just how it works, you know? I'm not the one that broke the game by putting it in that. But other than that, you guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate everyone viewing this video to understand Jayce just a little bit better. I will be putting timestamps in for this guide. And other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you guys learned something, and I really hope this helped. Metal Jayce out.